Nimol San lives in fear that this man, Lawrence Joseph Brown, will be released from prison and will start hunting for little girls again or return to torture her.
Every night I had this awful dream that he would just climb through the window and would hurt me again.
Nimol San was just 7 years old when Brown pulled her into this red van and brutally raped her.
Did he seem to have any remorse about what he was doing?
No, not at all.
Detectives Irma Mandel and Pharrell Buckles knew from the beginning they were dealing with a special little girl and vowed to find the man who stole her innocence.
She was so small and tiny and fragile, you know, and then have to see what she had gone through and so on with this guy.
You could not help but love this little girl.
At just 34 pounds, the second grader was too tiny to fight off the burly 25-year-old man. But even in the darkest hours of Nimol's young life, the terrified little girl somehow detached herself from the attack and focused on the details, memorizing the specific characteristics of her monster's face, right down to his bushy hair and evil eyes.
She had described the height, the weight, and that he was thinning in the crown of his hair, of his head, a lighter color mustache than his head hair.
Nimol also studied that red van, remembering a stripe on the outside and one unusual window.
She drew a picture of the van for us, and behind the driver's door, she drew a diamond-shaped decorative type of window. Any van I had ever seen with different types of plexiglass design windows, they were always at the very rear. I said, Nimol, are you sure that diamond-shaped window isn't in the very rear of the van on the side? And she says, no, it's right behind the driver's door.
Detectives launch a massive manhunt. They send Nimol's description of her attacker and her drawing of the red van to cops in 5 surrounding counties. They immediately get a call from a nearby county, but the news is worse than they thought. Cops don't find the attacker, they find another victim.
About 5 months prior to the crime against Nimol, he had done this to another young girl.
That little girl is still, to this day, known as Jane Doe. She was just 8 years old.
We knew we had to get him off the street.
Detectives were under the gun to catch a man they now believe to be a serial child rapist before he could strike again.
The best clue we had was that diamond-shaped window on the side of the van.
After months of searching apartment complex parking lots and canvassing the streets of Santa Ana, the determined detectives find themselves staring right at the red van little Nimol had so vividly described.
I saw this orangish red, dirty van, and then I saw the diamond window behind the door. And I'm thinking, my gosh, there's that van. There's that van we've been looking for.
Cops photographed the bushy-haired man behind the wheel. They asked Nimol to pick him out of a photo lineup.
As soon as she saw Lawrence Brown, she just kind of put her head back, and then she started to shake. And she says, that's him. So we had it.
Lawrence Brown is convicted of 5 counts of forcible sex crimes against a child.
How did you feel?
Well, I wanted to beat him with an inch of his life. I knew what he did to her.
Brown was sentenced to 49 years behind bars here at Chino State Prison. A sentence District Attorney Tony Rackauckus feels was far too light for the terrible things this animal had done to little girls.
When you look and you see what happened to these victims, it should be sufficient to keep him for life.
With Brown in prison, Nimol's nightmares finally go away. She grows up, gets married, and has a family. Then, after 25 years, the monster who haunted her is back.
A warning tonight, a violent sex offender is being released from prison after 25 years behind bars.
Yes, Lawrence Brown is released early for, believe it or not, good behavior.
Fear, outrage, even disbelief. That describes the feelings of some Orange County residents after they were told a convicted child rapist might be moving back into their neighborhood.
And he's staying just down the street from an elementary school.
This is the worst of the worst. A child rapist, a repeated child rapist, and we can't get him put away.
Then terror hits. Brown disables his monitoring bracelet, and cops can't find him.
He could have been perusing around areas with little children.
The thing is that we don't know where he was.
After 10 days on the loose, cops catch Brown and throw him back in prison. Parents breathe a sigh of relief, but not for long. Just 6 months later, Brown's out again. The prison warden set him free.
This guy is a boogeyman for every little girl in our community, and he's a nightmare of their parents.
District Attorney Rackauckus holds a press conference, warning parents to be on the lookout for Lawrence Brown.
We have had other cases where people have done things in the past that were horrendous. If they reoffend, they usually kill their victims the next times.
This time, Brown barely makes it out of the prison parking lot before he's rearrested on another parole violation.
He was told in no uncertain terms very clearly that as a condition of parole, he is not allowed to ride in a car with a female person. And we followed him out of the prison, and lo and behold, he was in fact being driven by a female.
For now, Lawrence Brown remains behind bars. The DA's office has petitioned to have him held permanently in a prison mental hospital as a sexually violent predator.
In my view, he should never be released from custody.
But there's a giant wrinkle. Brown has requested a new jury to hear his case. If they believe he's been rehabilitated and no longer a threat to the public, he could be back on the streets any day.
Do you think personally he should be let out among your daughter, my daughter?
No. Not at all.
This remarkable woman tells me she's actually forgiven Brown, but she never wants society to forget what this monster did. And Nimol says she will never forget how hard these two detectives fought to keep a 7-year-old girl safe.
Do you ever wonder what happened to the detectives?
I really don't know where they are, but you know, if I had a chance to say thank you to them, I really want to thank them.
We have a surprise for you today. Do you remember these faces, these people?
Yes. I do remember them. Oh, so good to see you. I remember you too. I never forget both of you at all. When I hugged you, I felt like I'm hugging my dad, you know, back then. Now, you know, I can go back home and say, hey, I've met two great people who helped me when I was 7.
We knew you would be happy and would do well because you were such a remarkable little 7-year-old.
Yes.
Unbelievable. But to see you in person, I just,
Thank you so much.
Now we want to hear from you. Do you think Lawrence Joseph Brown should ever be released from custody? Sound off right now on our Facebook page.